A few words about this F-15E. This is an aircraft which has been flying in the service, and many of the countries across the globe are flying, including Saudi Arabia. They're flying F-15. The Americans have been coming up with different versions of this aircraft. F-15E is basically an extended version. It is a strike aircraft, which has more fuel and can carry more weapons. Americans probably have suffered this F-15 loss in the beginning of the war also. If you recall, 3 F-15s were shot down, and America called it that this was the cause of friendly fire. And even the world did not know much about Iranian capabilities then, but I did not agree to this question that, yes, this can be shot down by just a friendly fire. And over the last 4 weeks and 5 weeks that the war has escalated, we have seen that the Iranians have not only shot down those 3 F-15s, but have shot down F-35 probably more than once. They've shot down F-18, they've claimed F-16, and now they claim A-10 also. So this F-15 now, what they're claiming is the SEAD is basically, we call it SIAD, is suppression of enemy air defense mission. This is a mission which we carry out to neutralize the Iranians. Have used some kind of that. I do the research and I hope I'm right. Iranians officially don't tell you anything, but possibly they have a A167 surface-to-air drone, which is an IR signature drone, which means when engine emits the radiation from the exhaust, that cannot be hidden even if of a stealth aircraft F-35. So Iranian have a missile, which is, as I said, 167. When they go up in the air, obviously, or send it up in the air, this is a combination of a drone and anti-aircraft missile. It loiters. It does not just gets exhausted through fuel. It loiters in the area sometime and starts to pick up the infrared signals of a jet engine. Obviously, F-35 can conceal itself through manufacturing capabilities, through special paints, special designs. But 800 degrees centigrade of Pratt and Whitney engine of F-135 engine, you cannot conceal that. It has to be emitted back into the atmosphere. So these missiles possibly are tracking the IR signature. And when they log that, obviously, they send an indication on the ground, and then the Iranians are firing an anti-aircraft missile. Probably those are the ones which are getting it. The last point on this is that now the speculation is on that Russia has given Iran with S-400 missiles possibly, and 4 batteries. Let me recall, obviously, and remind your viewer, these are the same air defense system which we knocked out on India in May 2025, S-400. So if they have that, I think the rest could be a part of the history. You see, June 2025, we learned, and I also did the research, that Iranian had placed the order of S-300 missile, surface-to-air missile. And the speculation is that now they have received either S-300 or a better version, S-400. Now, S-400, let me share with your viewers that it can track around 600, at 600 kilometers, around 200 targets simultaneously. S-400 is a digit. 400 would mean that it does not let anyone come closer than 400. So that's the lethality of this. And one more thing that I must add, if this is the missile which is taking them out, is that this is a missile is hit against a target aircraft which is heading towards it. Normally, a jet aircraft approaches at a speed of about 1,000 kilometers. Look at it, this S-400 starts to head towards this incoming threat at a speed of 17,000 kilometers. That's the 17 times more than the incoming threat. So it is a very, very lethal, obviously, weapon. And Pakistani pilots who flew in May 2025, fortunately, I had met those pilots, and I really salute them for having flown. It was a kind of suicidal and the most daring mission of the last war that we had against India. So Iranians, if they are firing this S-400, that could be one of the most lethal threat the Americans could be facing even in future also. We are not sure whether these radars have been given to Iran or not. That's yet to be confirmed. As Iranians are not opening up with a lot of weapons, and they either received it or they kept it so secret because they wanted to probably surprise the Americans. So if they have received this weapon, Americans have the capability, obviously, to counter it. And they have special AEW aircraft, airborne early warning. You saw that AEW E2C Hawkeye was shot down by the Iranians. That was also another airborne platform which gives a warning of nearly about 200 to 300 kilometers of incoming threat. It can track about 100 targets. So that aircraft was also shot down. But as today, I am not sure, and I cannot conclude that they have received these radars from Russia or from China. There are three categories broadly, let me share, without going into a lot of technical things. There are three categories of air control. That means what the Americans would like to, or Americans have had over the last about 5 weeks of war. The lowest category or most favorable, it's called favorable air situation. And favorable air situation means that obviously the air situation is in your favor. The enemy has significant resistance, but overall you prevail as compared to the enemy. Then his air superiority. Air superiority is the significance reduction in the enemy responses, the capabilities to detect you, where you have the liberty to go inside the enemy terrain and obviously loiter, drop the bombs, and come out most probably safe. Air dominance is the most favorable for any attacking. Air dominance is a category where you think or you believe and you ensure that the enemy does not have any significant resistance from the ground or from the air. So air dominance is probably the American must have believed by now that they have the air dominance because they thought we have neutralized all air defenses, they've neutralized all batteries, they've neutralized all sensors or EW platforms. So they believed that they had the air dominance. So in spite of that, if Iran has been able to surprise them, this should be a big shock for Americans. It's not only shooting one aeroplane, it shatters your confidence in your own systems from the American perspective. They'll be very double-minded when they send in the F-35 next time. If they've lost F-35 twice, they'll be very confused and unsure if should they send F-18 again, or should they send A-10 aircraft again. Now, let me tell you one example. The A-10 aircraft is called, basically, it's an attack tank aircraft, which is used, it's called tank buster. It's used against the ground installation, the infrastructure, the tanks, the AP, armor personnel carrier, or different infrastructure moving on the ground. So it shoot these targets. And because there is a likely chance that it can be hit from the ground, so the belly of this aircraft has the armament plating. That means it is obviously strengthened, that even if it gets bullets and everything from the ground, nothing happens to this aircraft. So this is a flying tank buster, basically. And that has also been hit, Iran is claiming. That should worry, obviously, Americans. Now, if I was an A-10 pilot, or I was planning an A-10 mission from the planning point of view, I'll be very confused. I'll not be very sure about it. Should we send this aircraft again because this has been shot down by the Iranians? How and where is part two? But that should lose a lot of, obviously, America should lose a lot of confidence on their air dominance element, what I said. You see, when you have air dominance, it gives you a huge liberty of action to plan your air operation according to your choice. The reason is when I know there is no resistance the enemy can pose on my jets, on my air defense strikes, so I'll be very, very confident in planning. And I'll be very sure about the success rate, obviously. But when enemy shoots down my jets, obviously, when I send in, if I'm the planner, so I'll be little hesitant, depends on the loss, the number of aircraft that I've lost. So I'll be very careful in planning next time. So that reduces the liberty of action of the offensive side. And in this case, America is the offensive side. If I was the military strategist from American point of view, and I was told that you lost 10 or 12 aircraft in last 3 weeks, obviously, this sends some jitters to me that my claim or my belief of air dominance is false. Obviously, the enemy is resisting. We are losing the aircraft. So obviously, this should shatter the confidence. And that should curtail the degree of the mission or number of missions that we plan. Obviously, I'll curtail even the number, or I'll change my tactics to high altitude maybe, or depending how I lost the aircraft. So I'll have to altogether remodify my designs and the planning of the missions. So that itself is indirectly success of Iran. You see, it can be done through maritime expeditionary units. They call it MEU. There are 2 in the area already with 5,000 troops, and they're planning to bring in 82 aviation or airborne brigade, number one, and which command center also, that should compile of about 5,000 troops additional. So total of 10,000 troops, highly trained and skilled, are likely to undertake this operation if it is taken, number one. Now, first, before I go into the possibility of enrichment or Karg Island or anything, we have to understand that why should this kind of operation or ground invasion or foot on the ground should take place. Number one purpose is to take control of that area, the installation, Kharg Island, or any installation that you want to throw your commandos down. The area is that they should take control. And when you have control, hypothetically, let's assume they're talking about dropping the people at Kharg Island. So if they drop it, the purpose would be seize, control, and operationalize in your favor, the American favor. That America should start to export almost the same oil what Iran was exporting from Kharg. Now, this should be the mission. Now, can they do it? It's not like Venezuela president and his wife picked up in a few hours, obviously. Why? Because Kharg Island, although the majority of the population is Sunni over there, but they're still loyal to the government, most of them. So, number one, it's not a conducive environment. When they are dropped, obviously, they have to eliminate the resistance. So, can they eliminate the public resistance? Number one. Number two, they have to reorganize. Number three, they have to make sure that they take charge of all vital installation and secure them. Let me give you an example for your viewers. Easy can believe what I'm referring to. Now let's go back to Iraq 2003, Saddam Hussein time. Now it was a no-fly zone. Almost the complete Iraq was no-fly zone, and we all know that Iraq size is 1/4 of Iran. So Iran is four times bigger. So Iraq is complete desert, terrain-wise. So when you have desert for the air operations, it was extremely difficult for Iraqi forces to hide, to dig in tunnels, to hide behind the contours. They were all visible, open and naked, and the Americans were bombing them. Americans did 48 days of non-stop bombing to neutralize, to create an environment before dropping 82 Brigade. So can you imagine, can they create that kind of environment in Iran, which is 4 times bigger, which has almost 50% of the terrain, which is uneven or hilly, and 50% is plain? So in these terrains, obviously, air operation from the American perspective is highly challenging. Why? Because the Iranians would have places to hide, conceal in the hills, in the terrain, and obviously they already dug in many tunnels. Obviously, Americans still unable to reach to all. That's why they're continuing the operation. So I think it's going to be a suicidal mission, I believe. And the last word, the most important thing is, even if they take charge of a place like Kharg, and when they drop 10,000 soldiers, they will be a target-rich environment, obviously, for the Iranians. It will be a lucrative target for the Iranians. They'll go back and hit, obviously. They'll start to kill those people through Shahid drone or others. And on top of that, please remember that few kilometers beside Kharg Island is the mainland Iran. So when you have mainland so close, they will start to shoot from there. And obviously, you have to take control of that area also from the American perspective to secure your Kharg Island, so that there is no resistance given from the coastal areas from the Iranian side. So it's a huge task. A person like me can understand. I don't know. I hope and pray that Americans also understand. We, the fighter pilots, are trained during the peacetime how to escape in the desert, how to survive in the snow, and how to obviously come back from if you eject in the sea or coastal areas, wherever. So I think all kind of training is extended to us. Having said that, all forces obviously back the rescue operation. The Americans do have, but Iranian, obviously, they must be looking out if their pilot has ejected there. And Americans obviously should be desperate to discover the pilot, because pilot is a huge asset for the enemy also. When you capture the pilots, you can extract a lot of information. Although according to Geneva Convention, you're not supposed to ask the details except his number, particular, and unit, and it's the very basic for information according to the Geneva Convention. But unfortunately, many countries do not respect because they want to extract maximum out of the fighter pilot. Obviously, fighter pilots are one of the most informed people about the plans of the strikes and the kind of the war gaming that's about to unfold. So I think the Americans should be worried, but it is difficult to pinpoint unless the satellite help is taken where the aircraft has fallen, number one. It is extremely difficult to pick up where has the pilot gone, because unless you are almost monitoring live or through satellites, where did he go? You can go back and try to trace the parachute, where did he fall? But was it captured? That's obviously another big question remains to be seen. But Americans would make desperate all attempts possibly to evacuate and rescue the pilots. All air forces have this system. But entering into the enemy terrain, obviously losing that helicopter could be another possibility. You see, a change of strategy comes in if you have not built in the losses. When the fighter pilots or the fighter planes and these bombers are sent in, there has to be an element of attrition. Let's be clear about it. That's part of the game. When I go in for a war mission, I know that I may not come back alive. And even if I obviously return from the mission, I could be shot down and I could eject in the enemy territory, maybe survive, maybe I don't survive. And let me also viewers tell you, there have been very, very unfortunate incidents in our history in India, Pakistan. I don't want to go into those details, but our fighter pilots, when they were dropping through parachute, alive, coming down, people started to shoot from the ground, and our pilots have been killed before they landed on the ground. Through the public, common people or people on the ground, the soldier, whatever, I don't want to go into the details. They were shot dead while they were alive coming down through a parachute. That's the kind of hostility the fighter pilots have to see. But when the Americans send in, as I said, the attrition is part of it. Depends, did Americans expect this? That's the big question. That should change their mind. If they did not expect, as I said, they had believed that we have air dominance, that should be a big shock. But if they built in the element of losses, then it doesn't hurt you that much because it was part of your planning. I send in 100 aircraft, 90 would come back or 80 would come back, 20 don't come in. So if it's part of my calculation, then I'm mentally prepared. My war plans cater for that kind of loss, and I'm ready to pay the price. But if you think that 100 out of 100 would come back, and if a 2 do not come back, obviously that worries me. So it depends what was the calculation that the Americans had in mind, the level of attrition that they have in mind. That would change dependent on, was it part of their strategy? Was it part of their hypothesization of the enemy? Because when we do the war planning, we hypothesize the enemy. What capability do they have? How much damage can they cause to us? What will be the attrition? What will be the damage that we'll be able to cause versus the loss? So it's all calculated before the war is executed. So it depends on the American side. Obviously, I do not have a preview, but I'm just saying the general thumb rule.